Well, I'm Enjay. I'm from Oshawa, Ontario, Canada. I moved to Saskatoon when I was really young, like 6 years old or something like that. The name is actually a really funny story because when I got my last name changed a couple years ago, and when I got my last name changed, we drove out to Regina to do it because that's where all the buildings are, like to get it done. And when we actually put in the paperwork to get my last name changed, I didn't have a last name for a couple weeks. So my first and middle initials are N and J, and my last initial, I didn't have one at the time. And my middle name, Joseph, is like really important to me. It's a huge family name for me. And so like I just decided that like that made more sense than doing like, I don't know, I went through a bunch of other names before that, and none of them ever really stuck or were ever felt as important as this one. Like it's kind of like what represents me, and it's huge because it actually is like a part of me. Like even if I quit rapping or anything like that, like I'm still they're still like my initials. That's still who I am. So like I tried to go with a name that like no matter what would still be like 100% like just me. Like that's me. It's like blues hip hop. Whenever I try to tell people what it is, because it takes huge elements of blues music, jazz music, all kinds of stuff like that, like old school hip hop did, because that's how hip hop was invented. It was people took their parents' jazz records and their blues records and chopped them up and made hip hop beats. And so I tried to go back, and instead of actually chopping up blues and jazz records, I decided that it would be really cool to try to incorporate like blues and jazz music. So like you'll hear organs in my music, which you might not hear in other hip hop music. I'm actually would almost put money on that you won't hear in other hip hop music. Like I try to like really separate myself from everybody else, and the hip hop part too. Like I do get into like some serious hip hop sounding stuff because I do love hip hop. Like that's my thing. But I also like I love all kinds of music. I love folk music, country music, heavy metal music, all kinds of stuff. So you hear like really heavy guitars in one song because I wanted heavy guitars because I liked the way a certain guitar sounded in like a System of a Down song. I'm like, yeah, like I want that kind of thing in this song. But then in the same song you'll hear like a jazz saxophone. Like it's so crazy. Like I tried to take everything that I liked out of music in all different genres, all out of the music world, and just put it into me, like put it into my own kind of thing, because if there's anybody else out there in the world who has like the same kind of music taste I do, I feel like they would really dig it. Like it's like I don't know. I used to not like my own music, but when I started doing this and started trying to incorporate all the different genres of music that I liked into it, I really started to like appreciate my own music. Like even in the studio, like I would like vibe to it and I'd be like, yeah, like this is the shit. Like this is crazy. To make a list is like extremely hard because I've opened for a lot of people. Like I'm only 18, and I think that I've probably done more shows than any other artist in this city as regarding opening positions, because I got in really good with promoters. Like I like all the promoters in Saskatoon. I just like everybody here. Like I like all the artists. I get along well with everybody. So it was easy for me to put myself in a position where people wanted me on their shows. Like I was really professional about it. I did everything I possibly could to make sure that the show was better, rather than you'll have other artists who will perform and they'll say, instead of trying to make the show better, try to make just their set better, just their performance better. I want the whole show to go smoothly. So if a show is running over time, if it's taking too long, I have no problem cutting a song out of my own set so that the show stays on schedule. Because that's the biggest thing. That's the most important thing, is the show. As far as who I've actually opened for, my very first opening position was Mad Child from Swollen Members. And from that, like, it just took off. Like, I started doing one show every month. Like, I've opened for MGK, ASAP Rocky, Classified, Swollen Members, Vinnie Paz, just Tech Nine, Hobson. I did a couple weeks ago, or I guess over a month ago, actually. Now, Method Man and Redman was huge. That was crazy. There's definitely more. Whenever people ask this question, I always end up trying to, I would say Well, I've done a lot of shows that weren't, huge opening positions too, like just performing with other artists in Saskatoon and maybe like sharing a stage with them. So it was almost like I was opening for them. A lot of guys who maybe don't even rap anymore, but like used to, who had like names for themselves before. Like when I was first coming up, I used to do shows for like that I could get any chance to, So guys like Brown Can Shine and stuff like that. They're like my big brothers at the time. Like when I first started rapping and stuff, and they were like my mentors almost, like showing me how to move through the scene and stuff. So like I shared stages with them, and I would definitely consider that like opening for them too, because they were they were doing a lot better than I was doing at the time. I love Saskatoon hip hop, and I hate it at the same time. There's like 3 or 4 guys in Saskatoon hip hop that I absolutely love. Like I'm such a fan, and it's so cool because I run into these guys, and I've actually worked with a lot of these guys on things, like on shows, or I've been in a cypher with them, or in one way or another, like I've been in the same room and I've actually like chopped it up, talked about hip hop with them, and it's cool. But the issue is, with every guy that I absolutely like really, really, really love his music, there's like 5 or 6 that I'm just like so put off by. Like it's just, I don't know, maybe I'm a worse critic because I'm from here and I want the Saskatoon hip hop scene to do so well. So when I hear something mediocre, like maybe it's not awful, but when it's not great, I almost feel like it represents me in a way, even when it's not me making it, like it's not like some kid like from Saskatoon makes a song about the city, say, talking about different things that happen in the city. Well, his experiences might be different than my experiences, and if somebody not from Saskatoon were to listen to that song, that almost like paints a picture of what the city is like for other people that aren't from here. And I don't want that. And that's why like the guys who I do really like, their sound is almost like that's what this city sounds like. And that's what I try to do with my album, is like that's what this city sounds like, because Saskatoon has such a dominant jazz scene and such a dominant blues scene. So that's kind of why I try to incorporate as much of that as I can into my album, because that is the sound of Saskatoon. Like that's what we are, is like all these different kinds of music, and we're so versatile in the way that we have all these different genres that we fall into, and all these different categories. So like I said, like there's guys who I absolutely adore, like and as a person too. Like these guys are cool. Like I can hit one up on Facebook and say, hey, like what do you think of this song? Like and they'll give me like an honest opinion. Like yeah, like that's dope, or like throw that out. Like what are you doing? And like I really appreciate that I have these guys in my city who can help me out and show me how to move, because a lot of them are a lot older than me and they've been doing it for longer than me. But at the same time, I feel as though I'm in like the top tier out of all the guys here, and I'm extremely confident in my music. And if it ever came time to like go toe to toe with anybody, even guys that I'm really cool with, I would definitely do it, because I'm a really competitive person. I feel like I'm a very good writer compared to a lot of other people in the city. And like I said, there are guys who I love, who I would hold myself maybe on par with, but at the same time, like I would just love to just like go off and like just have some fun. Like battle rapping isn't really my thing, but I would love to just make songs back and forth with somebody, because like that, I don't know, I find that so just like the sport of hip hop is just great, like the whole thing, and it would just be amazing to just see where that goes with people, because I would really like to prove that I can hold my own against these older guys if I ever got the chance. My latest project was called Infinity. It came out in February 11th. It was my first actual studio album. It was very hard to write. It took me years. I had been making other songs and putting them off to the side and whatever, but like releasing them for free, and it didn't sound the way that I wanted it to sound for an album. Nothing would come out the way that I wanted it to sound for an album. So I would be taking these songs and I'd be writing these songs to other beats, and I'd be saying, okay, this line is really good, or this couple lines is really good, these couple bars. I'm gonna keep these and try to make a whole song out of this one line, because like this song needs to be structured around this one line. And it got to the point where like I'd have one song with 8 of those building lines in it. So like the songs got so packed with crazy messages and packed with like huge meaningful things that I wanted to say that it was almost overwhelming. So then I almost had to dumb it down a bit. I almost had to like take stuff out. I was like, okay, like this is too much. Like I can't say this much in one song because like that's gonna, you know, like that's gonna dominate my album. Like that's gonna take up, you know, the whole album if it's just every song is just like, you know, me telling other people what to do and how to feel and how I feel about things. Like I want to leave things open for other people to interpret. So the writing process for the album was really hard and it took a really long time. As far as the sound of it, like I said, like I tried to get as many genres in it as I possibly could, like the blues and the jazz and the country even. There's like twang in a couple songs where you could almost like hear that stuff in like a country bar, like it. And we did like cool stuff with my vocals too. Like there's distortion on some songs to make it sound like it came right out of like a heavy metal song. Like we did so many different things in the studio that helped make the project turn out like the best that it could, because this album was like my baby. Like I had made mixtapes before, I had done the whole circuit with the making remixes of other people's beats, but I wanted to do a project where like this is mine, this is me, this is who I am, we made this, I wrote this, we produced this, me and the gentleman who I made the album with. We took this and basically made it into something that's like alive almost. Like we just took it out of, you know, instruments and out of different sounds, and we said, okay, this is how this is going to sound. And we would let it, I was, the thing that I didn't think that would happen when I made an album is like I always had a predetermined notion of what I wanted the album to sound like, and it never ended up sounding the same, because when we were in the studio I'd make it sound that way and then it wouldn't sound right. And so I'd change a bunch of things. We'd change a bunch of things. I'd say, okay, I want my vocals higher on this song, or higher on this part, or I want to double up the vocals on this chorus, and you know, this and that. And it was just, it got to the point where like the songs were so different when I was done with them than when I started with them. But I was happier with them, you know. And you know, people who think that like any musician like thinks of something and then puts it down on Pro Tools and it comes back to them and it sounds exactly the same as they did when it was in their head is crazy. That doesn't happen. Like there's so much work that goes into it, and there's so much little tweaking and everything, and almost like 100% of the time you end up with something better than what you had envisioned, which is so fulfilling too. So my favorite local artists. My favorite local artists are all guys that I've worked with in some capacity. Data Banks is huge for me because he was like the one dude who I really, really, really appreciated what he had to say. I appreciated his music, his beats, everything about it. And then I actually ended up meeting him and doing a cypher with him and working with him. And now him and I, like, he's come to shows that I've performed at, you know, to see me perform. He's come to, you know, he's been at my house, man. Like the dude is like, he's an awesome guy, and he knows what he's doing as far as music goes. Like he's got an awesome taste in music. He's turned me on to other good artists. Like he knows what he's doing, and that's something that I can really respect. And you know, he moves slowly, and I just really dig that. As far as other hip hop artists, I really like Filthy Enabler. Dude is raw as hell. He's hilarious to be around. He's just really loud, and I just love that energy that he brings as soon as he walks in the room. The guy's crazy. His wordplay and the way that he flips words around and everything is just, it's unbelievable, man. Like he could hold his own against like big dogs, in my opinion, in like the hip hop industry, like guys like R.A. the Rugged Man, Immortal Technique. Like I would almost put him like up there with them, because like he can move like that, you know. It's not fake. Like I've seen the guy rap, I've heard the guy rap, I've seen him perform too. He's wild. Like I love seeing him perform. I love spending time with the dude because he's a great guy to be around. As far as other people, man, I don't want to say any more names because I can't think of anybody else who I really want to give that much praise to. There's a couple guys here and there, but there's not many. No. Okay, I will say this. I really, really, really like the whole Bilderberg team. I like Luke's guys. I like H2O's. All those guys are really, really, really cool. The Villain Village Records guys, Mac Tates, and I really do like Romero De Niro because he has like this whole like style about him that is so unique to this city. You know, like you wouldn't hear it in this city unless he brought it here. And that's something that I can really respect because it's almost like I can't even explain it, man. Like it's just his voice and the way that he raps. He's like Big L, but like not black, and it's crazy. Like it's unbelievable. The guy's nuts. So like those are like the kind of like the few guys who I can really like hold and respect in Saskatoon. Yo, what up? It's your boy Enjay. I'm on Staxx TV and the place to be. What up?